All right, so for my Twine game reflection, I decided to make a screencast. Just thought it would be easier. I kind of agreed with a lot of the points you were making in the video, just to kind of organize what I wanted to talk about for my reflection. So for step one, the game that I played was Choice Texas, which talked a lot about um, reproductive rights. Just kind of walked you through a scenario. So I chose to play as Alex. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's quite long. Um, So I thought it was really good because the narrative felt very realistic. Um, it didn't kind of feel sugar coated. Like a lot of the times, I felt like it was growing up playing some educational games. The language was very robotic. It kind of seemed like it was pre-screened for a certain audience. This felt very real and honest and raw, and it had a big impact on what I wrote. And I kind of try to put myself in the perspective in my scenario of what if I was actually going through something like this. And in my game, one of the scenarios involves you getting pulled over by the police and having to defuse a bomb, which is an incredibly outlandish scenario. I'm going to get a little bit more into it later on in this recording, but basically the language of this game really impacted that. I thought it was really memorable just because of that, and I thought that it was really educational. I, as a man, I don't really get a lot of the same reproductive rights talks as a lot of women do, especially in high school and stuff. So I was able to learn kind of like what that process is like and how you would be able to seek different options such as adoption and abortion, going through with the birth, all those different things. For step two, uh, with the storyboard exercise we did in class, it actually really helped me narrow down what I wanted to talk about. I kind of always knew I wanted to do something with hearing loss. I wasn't totally sure where I wanted to go with it, but as you can see, I'm clicking through these a little bit. My final game actually turned out to be not too different from this. I really liked the idea I came up with in class. It just kind of like struck me a little bit uh, that I wanted to do some kind of a narrative involving miscommunication. I kind of really got hooked on the idea of plant being something that can diverge into two paths, with planting a bomb, which is obviously very bad, and planting a plant, which I was able to kind of tweak a little bit. In my original version, I kind of wanted to set the game in like a dystopian future where like planting a tree was illegal, but I kind of realized that would be a little bit too confusing. So I eventually changed that later on. Um, for my outline, I kind of just fleshed out the story a little bit. Honestly, it hasn't deviated much from this. I'm not gonna lie, my feedback for the most part hasn't really said much about the narrative, so I've kind of felt like my narrative's in a good spot. I kind of wanted to improve upon and flesh out the game with other details, and honestly leave the narrative mostly unchanged. I've definitely improved upon it, but for the most part, it's stayed pretty consistent. Um, and for having someone play my game and give me feedback, I sent it to some friends on Discord, and I got mostly the same responses I got from my peers. Uh, at the time I sent it to them, I hadn't included sound yet. That's a really big part of this game because it has to do with hearing loss. So a vast majority of what I heard back from them was the narrative is awesome. You did a really good job with that. The pictures helped us, and you should just include sound. Try and get sound to work because again, it's very hearing and sound oriented. So I was a little intimidated by that. Because I know that including the sound is a little bit more of like a coding process. I did eventually get it to work. I'm going to show you that soon. Uh, and then from this version of the game, which is what's currently uploaded on itch, I haven't uploaded the final version yet, but the final version is done. I actually, thank God, didn't upload it because this is kind of the version that I was referencing. So it's mostly just pictures and text. Uh, go through the game really quickly. Uh, yeah, so I decided, sound would definitely help improve the immersion right now. You're kind of just going through, and I think the pictures are good. And that's it for the game. I didn't include an ending really, other than like the ending of these scenarios. So based off my peer review, if I can get to that really quickly. Something that I definitely took into mind was a lot of people suggested audio. I included audio. I got it to work. It took me a little while. And something that Marcus said was have a closing page. And in my final version, I have written up a conclusion, just kind of talking about hearing anxiety and how, even though this is a very extreme and exaggerated example, sometimes my day to day life does kind of feel like this. Even really simple things like going to a store or like a restaurant, I can get very easily overstimulated, and if I'm having to hold a conversation or understand what someone's saying, it's very anxiety inducing, and it's something that I always struggled with. But just wanted to give a quick conclusion to that, and then I also included a works cited because I definitely have to do that, including all the pictures, all the sources I referenced in my audio. And really quickly, I'm going to show the game with sound. So I included diner noise. It's a little loud, but that's intentional to kind of show how it can be very overwhelming. Same kind of setting. I used the same sound because it's the same environment, and I thought it sounded a really good job of representing what it could be like in these loud environments. Keep going. And then here I kind of muted the sound because it's an important decision. I don't want to overwhelm the player. So here's where you're choosing between whether or not you're talking about planting a bomb or planting a plant. I'm going to go with planting a bomb just for this scenario. So again, a little bit more in the same environment. Here I kind of included car sounds, and car sounds also are difficult for me. It's anything that kind of disrupts the flow of normal hearing. It can really impact my ability to hold conversations and understand and comprehend without feeling overstimulated. Again, here it's more driving sounds. And here it's like the players being distracted by the driving sounds and Marcus trying to talk to them. And then what happens is they swerve and crash. And yeah, not ideal. And then here is where the police sirens start to kick in. I actually have a lot of anxiety driving. I've never been pulled over, but I am terrified of having to have a conversation with a police officer while their sirens are blaring. It's something that I very much dread, and something that has really encouraged me to be a safer driver. And one of those fears has been realized in this game. Here the police siren is extremely loud. You can probably barely hear me talking. I wanted the player to feel very overwhelmed and put directly into this scenario. Again, same police sound. I really want the player to feel disoriented and able to understand how, even if you don't have hearing loss, this scenario could be extremely bad. And especially imagine with hearing loss, trying to understand them on top of these incredibly loud and invasive police sirens. On top of that now, the engine's running. Still going. Still going. Still going. Now the bomb is ticking. Now you hear the bomb ticking. The whole point is to feel incredibly overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious. I stopped the police sirens. I thought they were a little too much here. It bothers me to even listen to them. But again, that is the point. And even just the sound of this bomb ticking, tick, 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 tick. Extremely overstimulating for me right now, even just listening to and playing through the game. Continues. I made the conscious decision not to include an explosion sound. I thought that was a little bit too excessive. So yeah, there's other sounds for the other path that you can go down and the other endings and all that. And it all leads you to this conclusion page that I wrote up about anxiety in my everyday life and hearing loss that I had mentioned before. And then here's my works cited. So all in all, that's my reflection. I really learned a lot from this. I hadn't really had any experience making games like this before. I'm taking game design methodologies right now, and I'm making a board game which is more so mechanically focused, and this is, the other side of the coin, which is the narrative focus. I like doing it. I kind of got stuck at a few parts. Definitely, I got intimidated by the coding and programming. I think I talked to you about that during class. Um, Eventually, I got through that. It was a little bit confusing, a little bit complicated, but I made it through it. At the end of the day, I really do think this is valuable experience for me. A lot of my resume and my work is kind of like important for me in terms of building up what I want to do in the future. So unrelated, but for another class, the capstone in digital communication, information, and media, I've been working on a website. I fully intend on including this game on that website just as a reference for some of the work I've done. I'm really proud of this game and how it came out. And yeah, I hope you are a fan of it too. I hope you can learn something from it too. That is all for my reflection. Bye.